From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Tuesday's edition of For the People for September the 19th, 2017. We have a big show lined up for you, and it is the second day of Sharathon. In case you didn't know, we've been trying to make mention to our friends and partners across the country, this great country of ours, that we're raising money to further our broadcast, to keep our broadcast simply on the air. It is a listener-supported program and has been that way for many, many years, decades, as a matter of fact. I took over the reins 3 years ago, and we're keeping things going. But it costs money, folks, and at this time, we just don't have as many members as we would like, but it's growing. One-time gifts are accepted during Sharathon, or new subscribers. You may want to think about doing that, too. You can take a look at what our progress is on our front page at forthepeopleshow.com. Our goal is $5,000. You've probably listened to fundraising campaigns that, are $100,000 or $200,000 or much more than that. So it's a very doable Sharathon. We only raise the money that we need, and we do things on a shoestring here. So I hope you'll appreciate the number, because, we could certainly say, hey, we're not going to stop until we make like 25 or 30,000. There you go. And I could take a little salary and, you get the point. But 5,000 will help us advertise in the radio spectacular, which the ad to be seen, not a little teeny shoebox ad, but a real full-length ad, full-page ad. It's going to be over $1,000 in a national radio publication. And then we have our affiliate relations guy that we have to pay, and he's been diligently working to try to get us on some more stations, which is terrific. But we have to, that kind of money, because I am doing this, again, as a labor of love, and, taking 2 hours every day and hours of research to put together the broadcast. It takes, away from other things that I'm doing. But I'm committed to this, and I think after 3 years doing this, I think I hopefully have proved myself to you that I am committed, and we're going to continue growing the broadcast coast to coast and keeping it, hopefully, listener-supported for the rest of its existence, because either somebody like-minded, conservative, and certainly on the same page would bankroll something like that at a flagship station, if somebody in America would like to take over the show. But I've talked to other syndicators, and they're not all, they syndicate other things, and they would like to have editorial content. They want to, rearrange the broadcast to where it kind of fits more their agenda. And we're like, no, we can't do that. We've entertained it from a lot of big name syndicates in New York that were interested, and we just said, look, if you're going to really tell us we can't talk about how our position is on life and all this other stuff, oh, well, that's too much of a Christian message, and I'm sorry, but I am a Christian. I am an evangelical. I'm not going to apologize for that, and nor should I. So that's the beauty of For the People, is that we can actually have a conservative point of view and not have to be ashamed about it. And I shouldn't be ashamed, nor should any evangelical be ashamed of that. Unfortunately, we live in a culture that seems to demean and belittle anybody that is conservative these days, or could be, a conservative Christian. I mean, that's like insult to injury and some people's worst nightmare. Oh, my goodness, you have a conscience too? What's a conscience? But we do have a conscience, and it's a good thing to listen to it rather than ignore it. And I pray that more politicians would actually give into that. And there are some good ones. So we're hoping that something is born out of it. Today, President Donald Trump at the United Nations, first time, by the way, and turning up the pressure on North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons, using his maiden speech to the world body to address what he said is the top global challenge. Now, he talked about not only the North, but also talking about Iran, talking about Cuba, rogue nations, and really laying out a mandate for those not to support terrorists or terrorist nations. And also really gave a pep talk, in my opinion, to the United Nations on ways that they could root out the bureaucracy, which is it's terrible. And we talked about some of the corruption in the UN that everybody's aware of, the overspending and the elaborate hotel rooms and elaborate travel. I mean, they spent as much in travel as they did on humanitarian efforts, which is crazy. Treat yourself well, but nobody's staying at a Hampton Inn. We're talking, the Five Seasons. When you're doing presidential suites everywhere you go, it's just ridiculous. I mean, come on. I like nice accommodations. Don't get me wrong. But the presidential suite, you're about helping other. Come on. Who are you helping? But, it's not a surprise. There's almost like this sense of entitlement. We're doing this great work, so if I have to be away from home, then I'm going to have the finest of accommodations so I can feel at home. Really? You have these I guess you're getting paid $250,000, $350,000 or more to do these great works. These salaries are just ridiculous, and what some of these people make, there needs to be some reform. I am really hopeful that that the face, at least the U.S. ambassador, Nikki Haley, and remember, we have bankrolled more than any other nation. I mean, we really flip the bill and pay the bills there at the UN. I'm hoping that Nikki Haley can be an agent of change. I hope that the UN can be a really effective power and really do some important works. And they've done some good things. It's just, again, it's been very self-serving, and obviously the politics wrapped up in it and who they help and when they help. And, but it's, that's Washington for you. That's the elitists for you. And that's just how things work. But hopefully they'll listen to Nikki Haley. What do you think? I'm liking the language that she's using, and it seems to be received with open arms so far from everyone that sits on the United Nations. So that's a good. All countries seem to be on board with at least her words, and I hope she keeps it up because we need that. Speaking of needing, today's Sharathon 2017, a goal $5,000. Why don't you be the first today to kick off our Sharathon by going to forthepeopleshow.com. That would make me so happy. You listening right now, forthepeopleshow.com. Be the first to donate, and if you don't got a lot to give, just give $1. If that's the most that you can give, at least that'll kind of get things going and kicked off, and that'll be great, and I'll appreciate that, and I will feel the love. Believe it or not, $1 will, because it'll be $1 closer, think about it that way, to reaching our goal of $5,000. All right, here's a little of Donald Trump at the UN. For a lot of you with busy schedules, don't get a chance to listen to all of it, but a little of the speech just moments ago. Donald Trump from the UN in New York.
Our country has not seen in a very long time, and it has just been announced that we will be spending almost $700 billion on our military and defense. Our military will soon be the strongest it has ever been. For more than 70 years, in times of war and peace, the leaders of nations, movements, and religions have stood before this assembly. Like them, I intend to address some of the very serious threats before us today, but also the enormous potential waiting to be unleashed. We live in a time of extraordinary opportunity. Breakthroughs in science, technology, and medicine are curing illnesses and solving problems that prior generations thought impossible to solve. But each day also brings news of growing dangers that threaten everything we cherish and value. Terrorists and extremists have gathered strength and spread to every region of the planet. Rogue regimes represented in this body not only support terrorists, but threaten other nations and their own people with the most destructive weapons known to humanity. Authority and authoritarian powers seek to collapse the values, the systems and alliances that prevented conflict and tilted the world toward freedom since World War II. International criminal networks traffic drugs, weapons, people, forced dislocation and mass migration, threaten our borders, and new forms of aggression exploit technology to menace our citizens. To put it simply, we meet at a time of both immense promise and great peril. It is entirely up to us whether we lift the world to new heights or let it fall into a valley of disrepair. We have it in our power, should we so choose, to lift millions from poverty, to help our citizens realize their dreams, and to ensure that new generations of children are raised free from violence, hatred, and fear. This institution was founded in the aftermath of 2 world wars to help shape this better future. It was based on the vision that diverse nations could cooperate to protect their sovereignty, preserve their security, and promote their prosperity. It was in the same period, exactly 70 years ago, that the United States developed the Marshall Plan to help restore Europe. Those 3 beautiful pillars, they're pillars of peace, sovereignty, security, and prosperity. The Marshall Plan was built on the noble idea that the whole world is safer when nations are strong, independent, and free. As President Truman said in his message to Congress at that time, our support of European recovery is in full accord with our support of the United Nations. The success of the United Nations depends upon the independent strength of its members. To overcome the perils of the present and to achieve the promise of the future, we must begin with the wisdom of the past. Our success depends on a coalition of strong and independent nations that embrace their sovereignty to promote security, prosperity, and peace for themselves and for the world. We do not expect diverse countries to share the same cultures, traditions, or even systems of government, but we do expect all nations to uphold these 2 core sovereign duties: to respect the interests of their own people and the rights of every other sovereign nation. This is the beautiful vision of this institution, and this is the foundation for cooperation and success. Strong sovereign nations let diverse countries with different values, different cultures, and different dreams not just coexist, but work side by side on the basis of mutual respect. Strong sovereign nations let their people take ownership of the future and control their own destiny. And strong sovereign nations allow individuals to flourish in the fullness of the life intended by God. In America, we do not seek to impose